11, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you. Good morning. Recognizing a quorum, I am calling this meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission to order at 10 a.m. on February 11th, 2021. This meeting is being recorded. My best wishes for the health and safety of everybody listening in. And I want to thank Matt Giancola for his help organizing and conducting these meetings. Thank you, Matt. Before I get into the agenda, I'd just like to start by formally welcoming our new commissioner, Commissioner Eva Concepcion. As you are aware, she was appointed just days before our last meeting and so chose to participate in that meeting, even though she was a member of the commission at that point. She chose to participate just as an observer, but now she's 4 weeks into it, and so a subject matter expert. I wanted to thank the appointing authority, in this case, Attorney General Healy. When I saw Commissioner Concepcion's name and saw her background, I was very impressed. But now that I've had just under 4 weeks to work with and get to know Commissioner Concepcion, I just think my opinion has just increased. I mean, she's brought energy, passion, thoughtfulness, a collaborative approach to the commission. I think we benefited greatly from her, even in her short tenure. I wanted to thank Attorney General Healy for appointing Commissioner Concepcion. Now that we have a full complement of commissioners again, I'm even more confident that we will continue to build an industry that works for all of the citizens of the state, that enhances public health and public safety, and that meets all of the legislative mandates. Commissioner Concepcion, I'd like to give you an opportunity to say hi to everybody and make opening comments if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be very brief. I wanted to take the opportunity to really extend my gratitude both to my fellow commissioners and to our amazing staff here at the commission for welcoming me to the team. I especially want to thank our executive director, Sean, and his amazing team for really developing and guiding me through a thoughtful and absolutely comprehensive onboarding process. By day 2, there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that this team is both knowledgeable, dedicated, and really committed to the work of the commission. And I'm really just excited to be a part of it and really contribute to our work here.
Well, welcome, Commissioner Concepcion. It's delightful to have you as part of our team. Before I get into the agenda, would any of my other fellow commissioners care to make a comment? Okay, so let me jump into the agenda. If we get to the next slide. Thank you, Matt. We have 2 sets of minutes for discussion and vote and approval from September 10th and September 24th of 2020. We are still in catch-up mode here, as I think everybody is aware, and I'm certainly painfully aware we had a lot of very lengthy meetings in the second half of 2020. I want to thank Christopher Smith for his heroic work in tracking and keeping minutes for those meetings and then preparing them for commission discussion and review. We'll do 2 per meeting over the next couple meetings until we catch up. But thank you, Christopher. Really appreciate your heroic work on this. With respect to licensing, we have 4 changes of ownership recommendations from our staff covering 7 different licenses. So some of the changes of ownership cover multiple licenses. We have 25 renewals, 12 final licenses, 22 adult use provisional licenses, and 1 NTC provisional license. So we've got a fair amount of work, but I think we can get through this. My expectations, we'll get through this in a couple of hours. So my intent would be to just power through without a lunch break unless things take longer than I expect. We'll probably take 1 break during the course of the meeting, but short break during the course of the meeting. But to my fellow commissioners, anytime you'd like a break, please just raise your hand, let me know, and we'll obviously accommodate that request. With that being said, let's jump into the agenda, starting with minutes. And as I said, we have 2 sets of minutes. The first is from September 10th, 2020. I'd like to ask my fellow commissioners, have you had a chance to review these minutes? Are there any questions or suggested edits for the minutes from September 10th, 2020? Then could I ask please for a motion to approve the minutes from September 10th, 2020? Commissioner Concepcion?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, could I ask for a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Flanagan, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner, my alphabetical order needs to change. I'll do it in the next one. Commissioner Camargo, please, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the minutes from September 10th, 2020. Next, let's go into the minutes from September 24th, 2020. I'd like to ask my fellow commissioners, have you had a chance to review these minutes? Do you have any comments or suggested edits before I ask for a motion to approve? Then Commissioner Flanagan, could I ask you for a motion to approve the minutes from September 24th, 2020?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the minutes from September 24th, 2020. Again, we know we have some catching up to do here. We'll keep on doubling up at every subsequent meeting until we get there. But again, my thanks to Christopher Smith for keeping us as close up to date as possible. Next on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. Mr. Executive Director, are you ready to go through your materials?
I hope so.
I hope so too. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. First is a quick highlight of our licensing data. This is a really high-level overview of our industry portal as well as our patient portal. You'll see here that the entire data set is available at the end of the presentation. That said, there's 11 applications that are awaiting their first review. This is consistent with our theme over the course of the past year plus, which is that initial review is really under control. And our matter of review is really within the first few days of having been submitted. You have 21 applications before you today for your consideration. There are currently 26 applications that are awaiting a third-party response. As a reminder, those third parties are either our CSI background check or the host municipality within which the licensee intends to be located. There are 93,950 certified active patients currently. A highlight note here that was brought to my attention by staff is that we do have, for the first time in our history, over 100,000 certified patients. The distinction between there is the active patients have actually gone through and finalized their registration with us, but that 100,000 patient mark has never been hit before, and certainly is a milestone and consistent with that theme we've seen over the course of the past year relative to the pandemic of that spike in patient counts. So I just wanted to highlight that for the Commission. And 259 applications have been expedited under the Commission's policy. Again, that's based on their social equity program status or their license type, or their status as a minority, women, or veteran-owned business.
Any questions before Sean moves on? Go ahead, please, Mr. Executive Director.
Okay, this next slide here shows you some of the activity within that portal. You'll see there's a total of 7,980 applications. However, the majority of them, more than 6,000, have not yet submitted an entire application, so they're therefore incomplete. Your activity as a commission, having approved or considered 752 licenses or denied 4, and the other context I would provide you with is the 56 delivery only pre-certification. That is an administrative process considered by staff, but that does contribute to our volume. So again, a lot of the applications remain incomplete, but we have seen a significant amount of activity.
Once again, any questions before Executive Director moves on? Please go ahead.
This next slide here is a breakdown of those 752 that have been considered. You'll see the majority, or 307, are that of a marijuana retailer. The next highest is 227, that of a marijuana cultivator, and the third highest, naturally, is a marijuana product manufacturer at 178. I'd also call your attention to there being 9 independent testing labs having been considered as well, and that does provide the majority of the supply chain.
Fantastic, thank you. Any questions? Please keep going.
The breakdown you see here on the next slide, thanks, Matt, is of those 752, where they stand in our process. Significantly, you'll see that 192 have actually commenced their operations. That means they're functioning and they are generating business across Massachusetts, all across Massachusetts, that is. The distinction between provisionally approved and a provisional license is 112 entities have not yet paid their license fee. 403 have and would be in either the architectural review phase or being inspected actively by our staff. 45 entities have received their final license and are just awaiting a final inspection so that they can advance to the commence operations phase. This does give you a sense, though, of our process, moving licensees forward through the licensing phases and processes.
Thank you. Please keep going. Sorry, Commissioner Concepcion.
I just had a clarifying question.
I hope I didn't make you wave too hard until I noticed you. Did you injure your shoulder there, waving so hard?
Just a little, no. Sean, just for clarity, the date here saying February 11th, 2020, and I was going to say 2021, but I'm assuming this is for 2021, correct?
Yes. Thank you for pointing out the typo. The perfectionist in me is rolling over in my grave. Yes, that is absolutely a typo, and I'm sorry for that.
No. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you so much.
Good catch. Thank you, Commissioner Concepcion. And thank you for making Sean blush.
I am mortified. I don't even know where to begin or where to go next, so thank you. This next slide here does show a little more of our process here, which is the application review itself. So as I mentioned at the outset, there are 11 applications awaiting their initial review. 146 have been reopened and therefore require additional information to be submitted to the commission. As a reminder, we don't put a timeline on when this information should be or ought to be submitted to us. So they may come in tomorrow. They could take a little bit longer, depending, of course, on what is also incomplete and therefore required to be submitted. As I also indicated, there are 26 awaiting their third-party response. Again, that's the background check or the municipal certification. There are 21 before you for your consideration. And this number of 812 does include both the denials, the approvals, as well as those pre-certifications that were considered administratively by staff. So that's how you get to the 812, totaling our activity of 1,016 applications considered in some way or shape or form.
Questions? Okay, keep going, Mr. Executive Director, please.
So this next slide here indicates some of the activity based on the priority or expedited or general. And the right-hand side does show that expedited which type of license or how they secured their expedited review. So the first left-hand slide or the left-hand table here is 248 applications have used or leveraged the MTC priority status. 59 applications have leveraged their economic empowerment priority status. 259 entities have, or applications, excuse me, have used the expedited review. 450 remain as general applicants. On the right-hand table, you'll notice that some of them, 23, have actually qualified based on 2 or more categories. 36 have qualified based on license type. That could be a micro business, an independent testing lab, a craft cooperative. 90 entities have used their social equity program participant status, and 110 have actually used their disadvantaged business enterprise, which, as you'll recall, is a partnership we have, and we're fortunate to have it with the Supplier Diversity Office in their designation process. So that's certainly encouraging to see that the expedited policy is working and working to effect.
Thank you. Any questions for the Executive Director before we move on? Okay, then please keep going. That's the end of, oh, there's one more licensing slide. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr.
That's
Executive.
In short, this is just some high-level overview of our medical process. We're still in the process, unfortunately, of bringing that information. A lot of our activity now in new applications are certainly running through the portal. There is some legacy data that we're working through now, and so this is kind of an overview of that. You'll see that of the 156 applications, 147 have actually expired. There are 6 that remain in the citing profile stage. 3 have chosen to withdraw their application. On the right-hand side, you see that license activity, and we have actually worked in recent months to move folks through that process. You'll see there still are 52 provisional medical marijuana treatment center licenses. 10 entities have a final license. 76 have commenced their operations, and recall that the 76 entities are vertically integrated businesses, and 37 have allowed their licenses to expire.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Flanagan,
can I ask one question before we move beyond licenses?
please.
Do we know, Mr. Executive Director, how many retailers have commenced operations in the state so far?
Sure. The order of magnitude I'll give you is about 100. I can get certainly a specific number for you, but we are either at or around 100 exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
So I can't
questions?
really say it's exact if it's at or around, so excuse me for that.
Right.
Okay, this is the end of the licensing data the executive director is going to share with us. The full set of data, as has been the case in the last several months, is available at the end of the slide deck and will be posted to our website at the end of the meeting. So there's a lot more data, but before Mr. Executive Director moves on to a couple of other topics that I've asked him to cover, any other questions about licensing data? Okay, thank you, Mr. Executive Director.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next handful of slides are relative to our implementation of the most recent round of regulatory updates. At our previous meeting, I indicated that it would be about a 6 or 8 month process to fully implement this most recent round. That said, there are incremental tasks that we are conducting and working through, and of course that we're trying to sequence things based on that priority that I laid out for you. Some of these things are really low-hanging fruit, and we can go ahead and make those changes right away. We've done so. There are other things that are going to take some time, as well as have a deliberate, intentional process behind them, and we're also well underway with that. I should also compliment and highlight the work of our staff in doing this. This is the same team that brings you a lot of the programming and the license applications that are before you for your consideration, as well as keeping literally the lights on our programs, our software and IT updated on a regular basis. So all of these things are being done in addition to those day-to-day tasks. That said, it's our staff is perfectly capable of this and up to that task. So the number of things I would highlight for you that are already done, and our applicants or licensees should be seeing these rolling out now, or if they should have already rolled out, which is the fee waiver program updates. As you'll recall, there were certain fee waivers offered through the most recent round of regulations for social equity program participants or smaller businesses or minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. Those updates have taken effect, as well as any updates to application fees. Again, those were tweaks in our licensing portal. The process for registering and certifying out-of-state medical patients, those are folks that would be here with debilitating illnesses. We have had some patients submit for that. We are accepting paper applications at this point for that because our system still needs to be updated. At the same time, these are patients that are in Massachusetts and seeking medicine. So we found a way to accommodate them in the interim as we build out that process internally. And then finally, we're going through guidance documents now actively, and we're hoping to bring to the Commission for your consideration a series of documents for late spring, early summer on a rolling basis. This next slide is some of those things that we're currently working on right now. A simple one is the delivery only license type as we understand it and are processing it now has now become the marijuana courier license. That's an administrative change we're making on the back end of our technology. We do have folks in the queue today that the regulations say will be converted to this courier license type. We're actively doing that. We have folks that have both applied or are actively applying right now. We also have folks that have previously been approved for pre-certification based on this license type. So that's a transition that's occurring in our license system right now. We are creating the marijuana delivery operator license application. It is largely similar to the marijuana courier license, but with very key distinctions and differences that we also need to account for in our application. Our goal is to build that out and get it into a testing environment as soon as possible. We're hoping that that's something we can get done by the end of this month. Let me clarify though, that we can build the application. We then need to test it, roll it out, including we intend for this rollout to be robust, which includes FAQs and other tutorials or videos or other materials so that folks know exactly when they do apply for the license, what they're going to need to have for it, and then finally get it out and deploy it to the public. As a reminder, this application type will also be that two-part series, which is the pre-certification followed by a full application. That pre-certification will largely look the same as it does for the marijuana courier, so we're confident that we can roll that out in a similar time frame as well. So but sequencing is going to be what we're focused on next. The next one here is updating instructions for testing laboratory and their ISO accreditation. What's important here is we had a lot of feedback in our history of our license type that our ISO accreditation was required for provisional license. In order to get accredited for your ISO process, you need to validate your processes, which means you need to invest in all of your equipment as well as your staff. And you would need to do that before you even apply for or secure a license. Based on that feedback to the commission, you chose to update your regulations to allow for that ISO accreditation to be secured and submitted to the commission prior to final license versus prior to a provisional license. We think that change is actually going to hopefully generate additional interest in testing laboratories coming to Massachusetts and allow for them to get up and through our process much faster. And then lastly is a software change for that 3-year agent renewal, which is important given that our agents, we have a large volume. That is a manual process for us to consider. And obviously, I think a lot of our licensees were looking for that process. That's a software change we're making right now, and that should be done by the end of this month.
Thank you very much, Mr. Executive Director. I think that those are the 2 slides that you had to talk about regulatory implementation. So let me pause here and see if any of my fellow commissioners have any questions for you on regulatory implementation and status. Yeah. Thank you. I truly understand the amount of work that goes behind each of these bullet points. So my thanks to you and the staff for that. Doing that, as you said yourself, on top of their day jobs.
Sure.
Thank you. Next topic is a recruiting update. Oh, no, I'm sorry, excuse me.
So this next topic, I just wanted to give the commission an update as well as provide a bit of a precursor to, we're heading into a calendar year of COVID-related activities. And once we get over that emotional hurdle of actually confronting that, we do have a lot of, we've conducted a lot of activity as soon as this agency went remote and as soon as, frankly, the pandemic hit both the Commonwealth as well as our country. We put out a lot of administrative things, be they bulletins or orders or other materials. Given that we're coming up on a year, we think it's a good time to revisit those things and ensure that they're not stale or no longer necessary. But if there's updates that are necessary, that we can provide those to both the public as well as our licensees, as well as patients for that matter. And the one I'm thinking of in particular was we offered through an administrative action that telehealth could be used for that initial provider visit for certification. We did require, though, that prior to renewal, that patients actually conduct and providers conduct an in-person visit with that patient. Given that the prevalence and effectiveness of telehealth remains, as well as the risk associated with those in-person visits remain, we want to make sure that we're able to revisit that bulletin and that administrative order we put out, as well as update them where necessary based on regulatory changes that were made. So just wanted to update the commission on that, let you know that that's a task that's going on right now between March and April, which again coincides with really the year anniversary of a lot of that activity.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions? Okay. Now I think I'm right that the next is a recruiting update. Thank you. Please go ahead.
I would just first note that the year is correct on this slide and take a bit of a victory lap on that as I continue to reel from.
That's a pretty low bar, but congratulations, Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you. I will accept victory where I can and acknowledge defeat where I have to. That said, I did want to point out that we have 2 current vacancies that we are filling at the agency. Wanted to highlight it for the commission's edification as well as highlight it for the public's knowledge. The first is the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer. This is obviously a critical role for our agency, one that we are actively recruiting for and trying to secure the best fit for our agency, knowing that we pride ourselves on being a very modern agency, as well as one that relies a lot on data and technology. And really for us, I think that critical piece is going to be that innovation opportunity. And rather than have it be a buzzword as far as just let's find innovation, it's more of let's effectively use the information that we have and allow that data to be digested, not just by us for securing better policy, but also for the public and anyone else that would like to hold us accountable for it. So as you know, and as we pride ourselves on our technology as well as our data, this is going to be a very key ingredient for that. And the individual that occupies that role is someone we would look forward to working with. The next role is equally as important, and that is the Director of Equity Programming and Community Outreach. That is again a vacancy as well as an evolution of a role, one that we're certainly looking to bring a lot of leadership into all of our equity programming, as well as be a leader within the agency as well as externally outside of our agency. So again, key functions being community outreach, key functions being equity programming, not just for the social equity program. I feel compelled to articulate that, but again, helping us in building out equity programming across the board, looking internal, looking external, and trying to be honest with ourselves about the work that remains and needs to get done, as well as bringing additional hands in to support all of that activity throughout the entire agency. So two very important roles, wanted to highlight them for the commission as well as highlight them for the public. You'll see here the CTIO closes on February 16th, so this week. The Director of Equity Program and Community Outreach closes on February 26th. So if you need any information about it, our website is the best place to visit. We also posted them through Mass Careers.
Thanks, Sean.
This next slide is a bit of, we had some openings that are now closed. Wanted to update the commission on our hiring process. As you know, we're filling for a press secretary. That includes some internal promotions as well as reshuffling in our communication shop. We're very proud of that, expanding our capacity there and making sure that we are responsive to our friends in the press as well as able to build out our communications team such that we can support a lot of our activity that goes on, especially around the busy work that we're doing and regulatory changes as well as just the growth of our agency. So this is going to be a critical role for us to maintain and build upon our relationships there and continue being responsive to the press. The next item is the HR operations coordinator. We have every intention of continuing to grow our agency. We have two folks in our HR department right now who do yeoman's work in trying to support each and every department as well as each and every employee. And this is going to be a joint role supporting both our operations as well as HR, knowing that we have a lot of hiring activity we'd like to conduct over the next year or 6 months. We know we need to staff up and support them as well. So those two postings have closed. We are in the hiring process right now and hope to fill those vacancies as soon as possible with the right fit for our agency.
Once again, before we move on to licensing activities, Mr. Executive Director, anything else in your report? Thank you for that. Any questions for the Executive Director? Okay, well, thank you. That was
Thank you.
thorough, very helpful, and I'm glad you got the date right on the last slide.
I do my best.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we move on then? Mr. Potvin, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
I'm glad to hear it. So let's jump right in. We have, as I mentioned, 4 changes of control or changes of ownership, excuse me, and together they represent 7 different licenses. Mr. Potvin, would you take us through them one by one, starting with Briarleaf LLC, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first licensee requesting a change of ownership is Briarleaf LLC. They currently possess a provisional license medical marijuana treatment center. They are seeking to add 3 individuals and 1 entity to their ownership and control. Background checks were conducted on all these individuals in the entity and no suitability issues were discovered. Commission staff did conduct an organizational and financial inspection into these individuals and entity, and no information or no issues were found from that information. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, request that your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. To my fellow commissioners, are there any questions or comments on the staff recommendation on Briarleaf LLC before I ask for a motion and a vote? And could I ask Commissioner Camargo, would you make a motion to approve the staff recommendation for change of ownership for Briarleaf LLC?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Concepcion. Could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Camargo made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation on change of ownership for Briarleaf LLC. Thank you very much. Mr. Pockman, FI Industries Incorporated is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The licensee requesting a change of ownership here is FI Industries Incorporated. They currently possess a product manufacturing license. They're seeking to add 2 individuals as officers. Additionally, background checks were conducted on these individuals and no suitability issues were discovered. Therefore, commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, request that your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Pockman. Again, before I ask for a motion and a vote, are there any questions or concerns about the staff recommendation for FI Industries Incorporated change of ownership? Then Commissioner Flanagan, could I ask you to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation for change of ownership on FI Industries Incorporated?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation on change of ownership for FA Industries Incorporated. Mr. Pockman, next up is Pleasant Trees Incorporated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The licensee here requesting a change of ownership and control is Pleasant Trees Incorporated. They possess a medical marijuana treatment center license as well as 2 adult use retail licenses. They're seeking to add 2 individuals and 4 entities to their ownership and control. Background checks were conducted on all of the individuals and entities and no suitability issues were discovered. Additionally, commission staff did conduct an organizational and financial inspection into the individuals and entities and no inconsistencies or issues were found. Therefore, commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, request that your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pockman. Are there any questions or comments or concerns on this change of ownership request? Or ask for a motion and a vote? Okay, then could I ask Commissioner Concepcion, would you make a motion to approve the staff recommendation on ownership change for Pleasant Trees Incorporated?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation on change of ownership for Pleasant Trees Incorporated. Next up, Mr. Potvin, Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts, LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The licensee here requesting a change in ownership and control is Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts, LLC. They currently possess 3 medical marijuana treatment center licenses, 3 adult use retail licenses, an adult use cultivation license, as well as an adult use product manufacturing license. They're seeking to add 6 individuals and 3 entities that will be gaining ownership and control over all of these licenses. Background checks were conducted on all of the individuals and entities and no suitability issues were discovered. Additionally, staff did conduct an organizational financial inspection into the individuals and entities, and there were no issues or inconsistencies found. Therefore, commission staff do recommend review and decision on this request, and if approved, request that your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are questions or comments or concerns before I ask for a motion and a vote? Then thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you please make a motion to approve the staff recommendation on change of ownership for Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts, LLC?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission actually approved the staff recommendation for change of ownership for Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts, LLC. Thank you. Mr. Potvin, at this time, are there any other changes of ownership for consideration by the commission?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Then let's move on. Next will be renewals. My count is correct. We have 25 renewals, including 24 adult use and 1 MTC. So I'd like to suggest that we do 2 rosters, one for adult use and then all the adult use renewals, and then one for the medical marijuana treatment center renewal. So the first consideration would be A through X, which are all adult use renewal. Mr. Griffin, could you give us your presentation on that, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On the renewals, A through X, these 25 licenses are ripe for renewal. They have submitted renewal applications demonstrating that they're still in compliance with the commission's regulations. They have paid their annual license fees, and they have submitted additional documentation towards their progress or success of their positive impact and diversity plans. Therefore, they are recommended to the commission for approval, subject to the conditions that are listed on the executive summary.
And just if I could amplify, the conditions that are in the executive summary for each of those 25 include the conditions that have typically been raised or requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And Commissioner Flanagan, that's your understanding as well? So you have no additional conditions to request, is that right?
Right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions before I ask for a motion and a vote on this entire roster? Then Commissioner Concepcion, would you please make a motion to approve the entire roster A through X for renewal, subject to conditions requested by the licensing team?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Chairman, just I will
Yes.
be voting on all but one.
I'm sorry. Then we need to do separate. This is my mistake. I thought that you wanted to remove something from the roster for final licenses, not for renewals. But if I got that wrong, my apologies.
Okay, either way.
Is that correct? No, actually, I'm sorry. They're on both. Let me suggest I'm going to ask for a different motion. I want to make it clear. So. The roster that I'm going to ask us to consider for adult use renewals will be A through E and then G through X. So just to be explicit, excluding from this roster Core Empowerment LLC. So could I ask again, Commissioner Concepcion, for a motion to approve the roster for staff recommendation for renewals for A through E and G through X?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, could I ask for a second on that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that the motion was made by Commissioner Concepcion, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to approve renewals for A through E and G through X on this roster. Thank you very much. The next roster that I would like us to consider is just item F on this slide, Core Empowerment LLC, MRR 205683. My understanding is that Commissioner Camargo would request to be recused from this consideration and vote. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That being said, could I then ask for a motion, please, from Commissioner Concepcion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a renewal to Core Empowerment LLC, MRR 205683. Commissioner Concepcion?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, could I ask for a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Concepcion, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission approved staff recommendation to issue a renewal to Core Empowerment LLC with a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners Concepcion, Flanagan, Stebbins, and Hoffman voting aye, and Commissioner Camargo recusing herself. Thank you. The next and last roster for renewals is the one MTC renewal, Pharma Cannabis Massachusetts Incorporated. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Medical Marijuana Treatment Center license that's up for renewal is Pharma Cannabis Massachusetts Incorporated. They have complied with their obligation to submit a renewal application and the appropriate annual license fee. And commission staff do certify, to the best of our knowledge, no information has been found that would prevent renewal of this license. Therefore, commission staff do recommend approval of this renewal application, subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there any questions or comments before I ask for a motion and a vote? Okay, then Commissioner Stebbins, would you please make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a renewal to Pharma Cannabis Incorporated?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approve the staff recommendation to issue a renewal to Pharma Cannabis Massachusetts Incorporated. Thank you. Mr. Potvin, is that it for renewals at this point in time?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on then to final licenses. I'm going to propose that we do this in two separate rosters. Roster 1 will have one final license application on it. That is A, Core Empowerment LLC, MR 281865. The second roster will include B through L, so all the remaining final license applications that are on this list. So let me start with the first roster, Core Empowerment LLC. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The licensee here is Core Empowerment LLC. They're proposing to do business as Seed. They are located at 401A Center Street, located in Boston. They are seeking a final license for retail operations. This licensee was approved for a provisional license on March 5th of 2020. They have paid all their applicable license fees. No new information has been reported to the commission regarding the organizational structure of the entity or any new information regarding the suitability of the licensee that's previously been disclosed. This facility was inspected on January 8th, 2021. The licensee's facility was inspected and found to be in full compliance with the commission's regulations. Key areas that were inspected revolve around security requirements, inventory and storage requirements, their retail operation, and this licensee will not be performing transportation activities at this time. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a final license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. My understanding, Commissioner Camargo, is that you would like to recuse yourself from this consideration and vote. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Then to the other commissioners, any questions or comments before I ask for a motion and a vote? Then Commissioner Concepcion, could I ask you please to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Core Empowerment LLC, subject to conditions requested by the staff?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Concepcion, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission approved the staff recommendation to issue a final license to Core Empowerment LLC with a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners Concepcion, Flanagan, Stebbins, and Hoffman, with Commissioner Camargo recusing herself. Thank you. Then the second roster for final licenses I would like us to consider is everything else on this list, B through L. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 11 additional licensees that are up for final license include the following. Caregiver Patient Connection, they are seeking a final license for retail operations. Delta 420 LLC, also seeking a final license for retail operations. Evergreen Strategies LLC, again, also seeking a final license for retail operations. Jolly Green Incorporated, they are seeking a final license for their Tier 1 indoor cultivation operation. Maderi Incorporated, seeking a Tier 2 indoor cultivation operation final license. Nature's Remedy of Massachusetts, they are also seeking a final license for their retail operations. Tree Works of Massachusetts LLC, they are seeking a final license for their product manufacturing operations. Turning Leaf Centers Northampton, they're seeking a final license for their retail operations. Tyka Green Incorporated are seeking 2 final licenses, one for product manufacturing and one for retail operations. And the last licensee before you for consideration is United Cultivation LLC, who is seeking a final license for their retail operations.
Thank you, Ms. Clapton. Before I ask for a motion to vote, are there any questions or concerns on the on any of these final license applications? Then thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Camargo, would you make a motion to approve the roster of final licenses from B through L?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Camargo made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue final licenses to the roster B through L on this slide. Thank you very much. Mr. Potvin, any other final licenses at this point in time?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Then let's move on to provisional licenses and a couple of comments before we get going. As has been our practice, we will go through these individually where there are multiple applications from one entity. If they are co-located, we will consider them at the same time, but other than that, we'll go through them individually. I have asked the individual commissioners to get to me with proposed conditions on any of these licenses ahead of time, and I think I have a complete list of those proposed conditions. I will give the world a heads up that there are a lot of them. Pretty much all of these do have conditions, not all of them, but most of them have conditions that are requested by at least one commissioner. Many of them have conditions requested by multiple commissioners, and one of them has request for conditions requested by all 4 of my fellow commissioners. So it's going to be taking a little time to go through this. There's some overlap in terms of the conditions, which is fine. I'd rather be complete rather than have holes, but we might want to have some conversations just to deal with some of the overlaps that came up in terms of individual commissioners making requests for conditions. Kind of a heads up. My guess, we're 10 minutes of 11. My guess is, Mr. Poppin, I'm going to want to go through half of these and then ask for maybe take a break just to catch our breath, but let's see how we go. But my intention would be at least get through at least half of these before we take a break. So with that in mind, let's start with Seven Leaf Gardens LLC, and there are 2 applications that are co-located. First is MCN 282830, which is Tier 1 indoor cultivation. Second is MPN 281894, which is product manufacturer. Mr. Potvin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Seven Leaf Gardens LLC. The proposed location is Charlotte Court, Building 2, Lot 2A, located in Middleborough. They are seeking a Tier 1 indoor cultivation license as well as a product manufacturing license. This applicant did receive general review. The applicant and municipality did execute a host community agreement on October 16th of 2020. The applicant did submit documentation regarding a community outreach meeting that was held on November 5th of 2020. We did receive, the commission staff did receive a municipal response from the municipality on December 30th stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which included 2 goals. Part of the suitability review, there were disclosures of past events. None of these disclosures, however, raised any suitability issues, and there were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant states that it could be operational within 8 months of receiving their provisional license. They did submit their proposed hours of operation, as well as all their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures that were all determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with 2 goals. And as they are applying for a cultivation and product manufacturing license, they did submit a cultivation plan as well as a list of products that they plan on producing once licensed. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of 2 provisional licenses subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. As I mentioned, this is one that has multiple requests for conditions from actually each of my 4 fellow commissioners. So let me read the proposed conditions and then we'll discuss and come up with a motion. From Commissioner Camargo, her proposed condition is clarification on the positive impact plan, specifically clarification on biannual trainings. Can all employees participate? That's Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Stebbins has 2 proposed conditions. Detail your plan. First is detail your plan with specific strategies to assist minority, women, veteran, disabled, and LGBTQ businesses to expand their opportunities to do business with the marijuana industry. And second, prior to final application for licensure, provide goals for hiring women, minorities, veterans, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents. Next proposed conditions are from Commissioner Concepcion, which is to revise diversity plan to include hiring and maintaining a diverse workforce composed of minorities, women, veterans, and/or persons with disabilities. And finally, Commissioner Flanagan, her request to condition for human services. Recognizing your donation on social media conforms with the advertising regulations 500.105 section 4B2. And as subpoint to that, the support letter from AHS, Associates for Human Services, states that all donors will be recognized on social media as well as on virtual fundraising events for the remainder of fiscal year 2021. So I think that the only place I see any potential overlap is between Commissioner Stebbins and Commissioner Concepcion. You guys want to? How would you propose that? We can certainly keep both proposed conditions in. I just think for simplicity and for the benefit of the applicant, if we can simplify it, that would be better. But Commissioner Concepcion and Commissioner Stebbins, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts of listening to Commissioner Stebbins seems like they're essentially, as you mentioned, pretty similar. I think we're aiming at the same goal.
Yep.
So is it a matter of how we're phrasing it that we're trying to?
Well, we have to have a formal motion with specific language in terms of the requested conditions. So that's we can adopt Commissioner Stebbins' language if you're comfortable with that, or we can negotiate or refine Commissioner Stebbins and/or your proposed conditions. But we need to have specific language.
Well, would you mind repeating both conditions?
Sure. So let me do that. Commissioner Concepcion, your proposed condition was revised diversity plan to include hiring and maintaining a diverse workforce composed of minorities, women, veterans, and/or persons with disabilities. Commissioner Stebbins had 2 proposed conditions. First, detail your plan with specific strategies to assist minority, women, veteran, disabled, and LGBTQ businesses to expand their opportunities to do business with the marijuana industry. And then his second proposed condition is prior to final application for licensure, provide goals for hiring women, minorities, veterans, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents.
I'm comfortable adopting Commissioner Stebbins.
Okay. Thank you for that, Commissioner Concepcion. Then are there any other questions before I will ask for a motion? Yes, Commissioner Stebbins, please go ahead.
Sure, Mr. Chair. I think what Commissioner Concepcion adds in her condition might be missing from my condition, which is the maintaining. Obviously, retention of employees, I think, is critical. I'm happy to amend mine or again keep them together, but I think the maintaining language is important as long as that's kept in.
Okay, so what you're suggesting, Commissioner Stebbins, is your second proposed condition. If we add the word, so prior to final application for licensure, provide goals for hiring, and then add and maintaining, or and retaining, excuse me.
Yes.
So Would that work that works for you, Commissioner Stebbins?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Commissioner Concepcion, that works for you as well?
Yes, it does. And thank you, Commissioner Stebbins, for that clarification. I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay. Are there any other comments or questions or proposed conditions for this application?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Flanagan.
I have one question. Is the conditions by Commissioners Concepcion and Stebbins to have the applicant tell us how they're going to maintain employees?
I think retain, I think was the word.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Commissioner Stebbins, Commissioner Concepcion, could you respond to Commissioner Flanagan, please?
Again, what I'm finding is that retention is certainly important, is creating a positive hiring plan. So, to the extent this licensee can provide us any information on how they plan to retain employees as well, I think is fine. I think that speaks to Commissioner Concepcion's point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So then, and just, I guess I should just make sure that this is true. I suspect it is. The conditions that are requested by the various commissioners apply to both of these licenses. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So, is our pattern on these that are co-located? We've had one conversation, but we'll take two separate votes, one on each license. So let me start with. I'm sorry. Before I ask for a motion, are there any further comments or questions or requests for additional conditions?
Chairman, can you just I guess
Yes.
just tell us one more time what the conditions that we're gonna be.
Yeah, sure.
Conditions?
Yeah. So there's going to be the following, aside from what's already in the staff recommendation, the following additional conditions. First, clarification on how Associates for Human Services recognizing your donation on social media conforms with advertising regulations 500.105 section 4B2, and then specifically the support letter from AHS states that all donors will be recognized on social media as well as virtual fundraising events for the remainder of fiscal 2021, excuse me. That's one condition. The second condition is from Commissioner Camargo, which asks for clarifications on the performance improve or the positive impact plan, specifically clarification on biannual trainings. Can all employees participate? That's the second condition that I'm going to ask a motion and a vote on. And then the third, and actually there's two conditions that come from Commissioner Stebbins, is modified by the conversation we just had. First, detail your plan with specific strategies to assist minority, women, veteran, disabled, and LGBTQ businesses to expand their opportunities to do business with the marijuana industry. And then second, prior to final application for licensure, provide goals for hiring and retaining women, minorities, veterans, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents. So that is the full set of additional conditions that will be part of the motion that I'm going to ask for. Commissioner Concepcion, or Commissioner Camargo, is that okay? Or do you have, did I miss anything?
No, thank you. That's perfect.
Okay. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask for motion and vote separately on each of these two applications. So let me start with 7 Leaf Gardens LLC MCN 282830, which is Tier 1 indoor cultivation. Could I have a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to 7 Leaf Gardens, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Stebbins, Flanagan, Camargo, and Concepcion? That's
So
at the
moved.
motion. I'm sorry, who did that?
Oh, it's Camargo. So moved.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, that's fine. I just didn't see it. Can I have a second, please, Commissioner Concepcion?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Camargo made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Stebbins?
His mouse froze. He's on mute.
Or, I
Sorry
don't know if
about
he's,
that. Yes,
Nope.
aye.
thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, I let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to 7 Leaf Gardens LLC, MCN 282830, subject to the additional conditions requested by each of the 4 commissioners. Thank you. Next, 7 Leaf Gardens LLC, MPN 281894. Could I ask please for a motion to approve staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Camargo, Concepcion, Flanagan, and Stebbins?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please, Commissioner Flanagan?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, I let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a professional license to 7 Leaf Gardens MPN 281894, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Camargo, Flanagan, Stebbins, and Concepcion. Thank you. Mr. Potvin, next up is Alfred's Finest Incorporated, DOA 100111, delivery only. This was expedited by definition because the applicant is a social equity applicant. If I'm correct, could you please go ahead, Mr. Potvin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yes, you are correct. The applicant here is Alfred's Finest Incorporated. They're proposing to do business at 8 Scobie Circle, located in Plymouth. They are applying for the delivery only, now called marijuana courier license, since the regulations got promulgated this last month. They have additional licenses also located in Plymouth. As part of the delivery process, application process, they were pre-certified for delivery only in July under the application number that's listed there. At that time, the applicant did demonstrate a propensity to successfully operate a marijuana establishment. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, this application did receive expedited review due to the fact that it is 100% owned by a social equity participant. They did document that they do have an executed host community agreement with the municipality. They also did inform the commission that they did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did send a municipal notice to Plymouth on December 3rd of 2020. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan with the goals stated in the executive summary. Additionally, part of the suitability review, there were disclosures of past events. However, none of these events did raise any suitability issues. Additionally, there were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. The applicant states that it could be operational within 3 months of receiving its provisional license. Again, as part of their application, they did submit their proposed hours of operation, as well as all required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. All of those plans, policies, and procedures were determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan that had one goal. Finally, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I am aware of requests for additional conditions from Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins. Let me read them. From Commissioner Camargo, again, with reference to the positive impact plan, clarification: is the Green Gateway Positive Impact Program an actual program or something applicant will create? Provide explanation for why Springfield, which is not geographically relevant to business location. From Commissioner Stebbins, I have 2 requested additional conditions. 1, prior to final application for licensure, provide any goals for hiring minorities, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents. 2nd, provide strategy for hosting Green Gateway Positive Impact Program in West Springfield and possibly other areas of disproportionate impact in closer proximity to Plymouth facility and operations. So once again, I think that both Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins are probably working towards the same objective here. So can I ask the 2 of you to discuss whether we should keep all the conditions, or is there a way to merge the 2 of your conditions with respect to the Green Gateway Positive Impact Program?
Stebbins.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Stebbins.
Sure, Mr. Chair. Obviously, I think Commissioner Camargo raises a question I don't ask, which is whether the Green Gateway Positive Impact Program is something that they have currently formulated, or whether they plan to develop it at some point during their licensure. And I think she and I are both trying to reach the same question, which is the rollout of the program in West Springfield, which they've appropriately identified as a disproportionate impact community. But I think we're both trying to understand why they didn't consider communities of that designation that might be closer in proximity.
Are you saying, Commissioner Stebbins, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but you're saying that if we use Commissioner Camargo's proposed condition, which both asks about what this program is and doesn't exist, but also why they've chosen West Springfield, does that cover your point, and we can just go with her condition?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great, thank you. Then any other comments or requests for additional conditions?
Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just add that I think the Green Gateway Positive Impact Program, I think it's a great idea. I just wanted more clarification. I kind of tried to look it up online, couldn't find it, but I think that their plan for it sounds great. Just want a little bit more clarification on it. And again, I think this is a good example of some good points in a positive impact plan.
Okay, no, I appreciate that clarification, but I think your current proposed condition makes that point explicitly, that you're looking for clarification. You're not criticizing it, you're just looking for clarification. Any other questions or concerns or requests for additional conditions before I ask for a motion? Then just to be explicit, the motion I'm going to ask for is to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Alfred's Finest LLC, or Incorporated, excuse me, DOA 100111, subject to 2 additional conditions. First, condition requested by Commissioner Camargo, which is clarification, is the Green Gateway Positive Impact Program an actual program or something applicant will create? Provide explanation on why West Springfield, which is not geographically relevant to business location. And then a second additional condition requested by Commissioner Stebbins, prior to final application for licensure, provide any goals for hiring minorities, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents. So could Commissioner Stebbins, would you make a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Alfred's Finest Incorporated, subject to the 2 conditions, additional conditions I just read?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Alfred's Finest Incorporated, DOA 100111, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins. Let's move on. Next is Atlantic Medicinal Partners Incorporated, MRN 282476 Retail. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Atlantic Medicinal Partners Incorporated. They're proposing to do business at 4 Main Street located in Brockton. They are seeking a retail license. This application did receive priority review from when it was originally submitted. However, as of today, after the policy adopted by the commission, it would now be classified as a general applicant. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as the fact that they did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response from Brockton on January 11th, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. As part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan, which includes 2 goals. There were no suitability issues that arose from the background checks or the disclosures made by the applicant. The applicant does state that they could be operational within 7 months of receiving their provisional license. As part of their application, they did submit their proposed hours of operation, as well as all their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures, which were all determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan that included the 2 goals listed within the executive summary, And as this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Again, I have requests for additional conditions, both from Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins. Let me read Commissioner Camargo's proposed. Actually, she has two proposed additional conditions. First, with respect to the positive impact plan, recommendation to increase the number of suppliers from diverse populations. And then second, with respect to the diversity plan, provide details on who will mentor the SEP or EE applicant, and will this start before operations? The sub point could benefit the mentee to start early and not wait for Atlantic Medicinal Partners to start operations. So that's those are two requested additional conditions from Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Stebbins has one additional request for an additional condition. Prior to final application for licensure, provide clarification to strategy for recruiting Fitchburg residents and strategies for recruiting residents from areas of disproportionate impact in closer proximity to Brockton location. Are there, I think, in this case, I think the conditions requested by Commissioners Stebbins and Camargo do not overlap, so I see no reason not to consider all of them. Are there any other questions or concerns or additional conditions requested on this license application? Okay, then could I ask, please, Commissioner Stebbins, would you please make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Atlantic Medicinal Partners Incorporated, MRN 282476, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. And Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Atlantic Medicinal Partners Incorporated, MRN 282476, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo. Thank you. Next up is Brax and Pistols LLC, DOA 100103, which is delivery only, marijuana courier under our new regulations. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I should mention, I'm sure you would anyway, Mr. Potvin, but this is an economic empowerment applicant, if I'm correct.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
Nope. Thank you. The applicant here is Braxton Pistols LLC. They're proposing to do business at 144 West Britannia Street, located in Taunton. They are seeking a delivery-only license, now what would be called a marijuana courier license. The applicant was pre-certified in June upon the demonstration of a propensity to successfully operate a marijuana establishment. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, they did receive priority review, as it is the application in the business is 100% owned by an economic empowerment applicant. The applicant and municipality did execute a host community agreement in August of 2020. The applicant did submit documentation stating that they did conduct a community outreach meeting in July of 2020. The commission did receive a municipal response September 8th, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. Part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the 2 goals listed within the executive summary. There were no disclosures of any past acts, and no suitability issues arose from the individual listed on the application. The applicant states that they could be operational within 3 months of receiving their provisional license. Additionally, the applicant did submit their proposed hours of operation, as well as summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. All of those plans, policies, and procedures were determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. Lastly, the applicant did submit a diversity plan, which includes the 2 goals listed within the executive summary. Therefore, staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I have requested additional conditions from Commissioners Flanagan, Camargo, and Stebbins on this application, starting with Commissioner Flanagan. Her proposed or requested additional condition is clarification on how advertising on the campuses of MCC and BCC for industry events will be geared only to those who are 21 or older. Commissioner Camargo had a proposed condition, has a proposed condition, again, with respect to the positive impact plan, goal 2, specifically how many applicants will start, how many applicants and will this start before operations and could benefit both social equity program participants and economic empowerment applicants to start early and not wait for the company to start operations. As Commissioner Camargo, and then Commissioner Stebbins, his proposed condition is prior to final application for licensure, review diversity hiring goals and expected number of employees. Again, all those are conditions. I don't see an overlap between them, so I don't know that there's any need to edit any of those. But are there any comments or questions before I ask for a motion on this application?
Comment.
Yes, please go ahead, Commissioner Camargo.
Yeah, just again on my condition, just to kind of elaborate a little more. It's great to see a lot of applicants add that they're going to mentor folks. Some folks are kind of missing how many folks are they going to mentor, and when will they start mentoring folks? And I know that, you know, it's really difficult to get these businesses off the ground. So I know that that's priority. I just want folks and applicants to think about, you know, don't wait till you make it to the finish line to mentor somebody, right? Lift while you climb, and possibly just think through, you know, what are the small steps that you can take to mentor folks in the process, especially our SEPs and our EEEs. So, but good job to this applicant.
Thank you. I think that's great. Great clarifying comment. Any other comments, questions, or requests for additional conditions before I ask for a motion? Okay, then Commissioner Concepcion, could I please ask you for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Brax and Pistols LLC DOA 100103, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins, Camargo, and Flanagan. Could I ask for such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, would you second that motion, please?
Aye.
No, I was asking, I need a second first.
So moved.
One more time, could you please second that motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Second.
Thank you very much.
I'm reading my notes of conditions.
That's why I invariably, we need to take a break halfway through this, because this is kind of like mind bending, just to keep track of exactly where we are. So let me, for the record, the motion was made by Commissioner Concepcion and it was seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Now it's aye.
Now is the time to say aye. Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Brax and Pistols LLC DOA 100103, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins, Camargo, and Flanagan. Thank you. We are next on to Calverde Naturals LLC, MRN 283258, retail. Mr. Potvin. Oops. Oh, and I'm sorry, again, this is an expedited application given the status as a women-owned business. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The applicant here is Calverde Naturals LLC. They're proposing to do business at 1010 Pleasant Street, located in Belmont. They are seeking a retail license. This application did receive expedited review as it is a woman-owned business. The applicant did submit information documenting that they have an executed host community agreement, as well as that they conducted a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response on January 21st of 2021, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. As part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan with the 2 goals listed on the executive summary. There were disclosures of past events. However, none of those disclosures raised suitability issues, and there were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities. As part of the management and operations profile section of the application, they did submit a timeline for when they plan on being operational, as well as their hours of operation, and all their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. All of those plans were determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with a goal listed within the executive summary. And as they are seeking a retail license, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I am aware of 2 additional conditions requested on this application. First, from Commissioner Camargo, again with respect to the positive impact plan. Clarify what a retail seminar means, how many hours, and who's the audience within the Fitchburg residents, et cetera, and add concrete outcomes. And then, sorry, from Commissioner Stebbins, his requested additional condition is review positive impact plan and provide strategies for engaging residents from additional areas of disproportionate impact. While there's a little bit of overlap between those 2 sets of request conditions from Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins, they seem like they have enough differentiation between them that my proposal would be that we consider this license with both of those additional conditions. Is that okay, Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions, concerns, or additional conditions requested on these on this license application? Okay, then could I ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Calverde Naturals LLC MRN 283258, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins. Could I ask Commissioner Stebbins, would you make such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Concepcion to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Stebbins made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. Aye. Let the record show the staff or the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Calverde Naturals LLC MRN 283258, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo. Next up, we have 2 applications from Coastal Infusions LLC, MCN 283253, which is Tier 3 indoor cultivation, and then secondly, MPN 281984 product manufacturer. These are co-located. So, Mr. Potvin, can we go through one review and then we'll have 2 separate votes on these applications? Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Coastal Infusions LLC. They're proposing to do business at 10 Fanaris Drive, located in Salisbury. They are seeking a Tier 3 indoor cultivation license as well as a product manufacturing license. Both applications received general review. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement as well as a community outreach meeting that was conducted. The commission did receive municipal responses for both operations stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. The applicant submitted a positive impact plan with the goals stated within the executive summary. There were no disclosures of any past events. Additionally, there were no suitability issues identified. The applicant, as part of their management and operations profile, did submit a proposed timeline to become operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures that were determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals. As they are applying for both a cultivation and product manufacturing license, they did submit a cultivation plan, as well as a list of products that they plan on producing. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of 2 provisional licenses, subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I'm aware of a request for an additional condition from Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Flanagan, this applies, I presume, to both of these applications. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The proposed condition from Commissioner Flanagan is resubmit positive impact plan to include more than hiring. Are there any other questions or comments or requests for additional conditions on these 2 license applications?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a
Yes.
comment if I could.
Please go ahead, Commissioner Flanagan.
The positive impact plan that was submitted by this applicant, while it says it establishes a career fair program, literally is nothing but hiring. And I think it's important that we understand that hiring is part of the diversity plan. And so to have this as the only piece of the positive impact plan is not something that I'm willing to accept. And I think that this applicant needs to really go back and figure out how they want to best impact the community or the cohorts that they've designated. Specifically, I'm concerned with the fact that they consider success to be recommending people to other companies. Everyone's looking to hire people in this industry. That's the whole premise of why we're creating another industry. So I really have concerns going forward.
Thank you, but you're okay with just the one proposed additional condition that you requested?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Are there other questions or comments or requests for additional conditions on this application, or these two applications, excuse me? Okay, then I'd like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Coastal Infusions LLC, MCN 283253, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Flanagan, could I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Coastal Infusions LLC, MCN 283253, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. I'd next like to ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Coastal Infusions LLC, MPN 281984, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Stebbins, would you make such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, would you second that motion, please? Commissioner Flanagan?
Her mouse
Sorry,
is
muted. Second.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Let's make sure Commissioner Stebbins made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote.
aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Coastal Infusions LLC, MPN 281984, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Next up, Mr. Potvin, we have Elevated Cultivation Company LLC, MCN 282873, which is Tier 3 indoor cultivation, and I believe this was expedited as a minority-owned business, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The applicant here is Elevated Cultivation Company, LLC. They're proposing to do business at 44 William C. Gould Jr. Way, Unit C, located in Kingston. They're seeking a Tier 3 indoor cultivation license. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, they did receive expedited review as they are a minority-owned business. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as a community outreach meeting that was conducted. The commission did send a municipal notice to the town of Kingston on October 10th. To date, the commission has not received a response. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the 3 goals submitted within the executive summary. There were no disclosures of any past civil or criminal actions. Additionally, there were no concerns that arose from the background checks on the individuals or entities associated with this application. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline to become operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and the required summaries of their plans, policies, and procedures, which were all found to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 3 stated goals within the executive summary, and as they are seeking a cultivation license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Commissioner Flanagan has requested an additional condition on this license application, specifically clarification on how a donation to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation will directly impact specified cohorts. Are there any other questions, concerns, or requests for additional conditions on this application? Then could I ask Commissioner Concepcion, please, to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Elevated Cultivation Company, LLC, MCN 282873, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Flanagan, would you second that, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let's record the Commissioner Concepcion made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the issuance of a provisional license to Elevated Cultivation Company LLC, MCN 282873, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you. Greener, we have two applications from Greener Side Holdings LLC, and Mr. Poppin, my notes I can't see. Are these co-located? I don't believe they are, but am I correct?
They are co-located, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm sorry then. I missed that in my notes. I apologize. So then let's go through the one summary and we'll have two separate votes. So two applications are Greener Side Holdings LLC, MCN 281610, which is Tier 6 indoor cultivation, and I'm sorry, MRN 282939 retail. If I'm correct, this is an economic empowerment applicant, Mr. Poffman, is that right?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Let's go ahead then, please, if you give a summary for both of these license applications.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Greener Side Holdings LLC. They're proposing to do business at 180 Laurel Street, located in Greenfield. They are seeking a Tier 6 indoor cultivation license as well as a retail license. As you alluded to, Mr. Chairman, both applications did receive priority review as the majority of the ownership is held by economic empowerment applicants. They did submit proof of an executed host community agreement as well as a community outreach meeting. The commission did send a municipal notice for both license applications to the town of Greenfield on November 20th. To date, the commission has not received a response. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan, which includes the two goals listed on the executive summary. There were no disclosures of any past events. Additionally, there were no suitability issues that were discovered during the review of their background checks. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures that were all determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. As they are seeking both a cultivation and retail license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan, as well as a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products for their retail operations. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of two provisional licenses subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Potvin. I have several requests for additional conditions on these two applications. I'm starting with Commissioner Flanagan. And her proposed condition is resubmit plan to exclude provision number 3 listed under program section, specifically omit the provision that a donation would be made in place of not being able to meet its commitment for any reason. From Commissioner, Concepcion, her proposed condition is prior to final licensure, the applicant shall amend its incident reporting procedures to explicitly state that any discovery of a security breach shall be considered a reportable incident under 500.1009, and the commission shall be notified immediately and in no instance more than 24 hours following discovery of the breach or incident. And then from Commissioner Stebbins, I have two additional proposed conditions. First, prior to final application for licensure, resubmit portion of positive impact plan to explain how impact of partnership with Nuestra Comunidad, Unity Circles, and Metco, located in Roxbury and Dorchester, will support Greenfield operations. And then secondly, prior to final application for licensure, identify any strategies for recruiting residents of disproportionately impacted designated community in Greenfield. Are there any other? Again, I don't see any overlaps there, so I'm going to suggest that I ask for a motion that would include all of those proposed additional conditions. Are there any additional questions or comments or concerns before I ask for a motion? Okay, well, let's do this separately then. Again, with respect to Greener Side Holdings LLC, MCN 281610, could I ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Stebbins, Concepcion, and Flanagan? Could I ask Commissioner Stebbins to make such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Flanagan, please, to second that motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. So, thank you. Appreciate that. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye. And
Thank-
Chairman, I had a comment. I was just on mute, but if you allow me, once the vote is over.
Sure, absolutely. But you voted aye. Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Greener Side Holdings LLC, MCN 281610, subject to additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins, Concepcion, and Flanagan. Do you want to make your comment now, or should we vote on the other license for this applicant and then allow you to make a comment? Is that okay? Thank you. So then I'd like to ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Greener Side Holdings LLC, MRN 282939, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins, Concepcion, and Flanagan. Can I have such a motion, please, Commissioner Camargo?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Camargo made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Greener Side Holdings LLC, MRN 282939, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins, Concepcion, and Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, just quickly, we're reading a lot of diversity plans and project impact plans. So I just want to say that this applicant here definitely did some homework around the community and doing some outreach to some specific organizations. So I just want to kind of give that shout out.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Potvin, I think it's time for a break. At least I need one. I don't know about you, but can I ask my fellow commissioners, would you be okay if we took a 10-minute recess and reconvene? So it's by my watch, well, we'll do 13 minutes. It's 11:37 by my clock. Could we take a recess and reconvene at 11:45? Oh, excuse me, 11:50. Would that be okay with everybody? So again, we are in recess until 11:50 a.m. Thank you very much. Okay, it's 11:50. Commissioners, are you all back? Mr. Pothman, are you back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then we are back in session at 11:50 a.m. Thank you. Hope everybody took advantage of that break to clear our minds and keep going. If I'm correct, Mr. Pothman, we are up to Greenfield Greenery. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, the next license application for consideration then is Greenfield Greenery LLC, MCN 283117, Tier 11 outdoor cultivation, which was prioritized based upon license type. Mr. Pothman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Greenfield Greenery LLC. They're proposing to do business at 493 Layden Road, located in Greenfield. They are seeking a Tier 11 outdoor cultivation license. They did in fact get expedited review as they are applying for an outdoor cultivation license. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as a community outreach meeting. The commission did send a municipal notice to the town of Greenfield on December 3rd. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their application, the applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 3 goals listed on the executive summary. There were disclosures of past events, however, none of those disclosures raised suitability issues. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 4 listed goals on the executive summary, and as they are applying for a cultivation license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pothman. I am not aware of any requests for additional conditions on this license, but are there questions, comments, or additional conditions requested on this license before I ask for a motion? Okay, then Commissioner Flanagan, could I ask you please to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Greenfield Greenery LLC, MCN 283117?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Greenfield Greenery LLC, MCN 283117. Thank you. Next up, Mr. Pothman, is GTE Millis LLC, MCN 283103, Tier 6 indoor cultivation, and this was a prioritized application given the status as a minority-owned business. Is that correct?
Expedited status, but yes, you are correct, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Go ahead, please, Mr. Pothman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is GTE Millis LLC. They're proposing to do business at 1480 Main Street, located in Millis. They are seeking a Tier 6 indoor cultivation license. The application did receive expedited review as they have demonstrated a majority of ownership is held by a minority-owned business. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as a community outreach meeting being held. The commission did receive a municipal response on January 12th stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. As part of their positive impact plan, they did submit 2 goals. There were no disclosures of any past events. Additionally, there were no suitability issues discovered during the background check review process. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a timeline to become operational, as well as their hours of operation, and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures that were determined to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals in the executive summary, and as they are applying for a cultivation license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Pothman. I am not aware of any additional conditions being requested on this application, but are there comments, questions, or conditions requested before I ask for a motion? And then Commissioner Concepcion, could I ask you please to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to GTE Millis LLC, MCN 283103?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, could I ask you to second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to GT Millis LLC, MCN 283103. Next up is HVV Massachusetts Incorporated, MRN 283861 Retail. This was prioritized as an MTC applicant based upon the rules that were in place at that point in time when they applied. Is that correct, Mr. Potvin?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman, and it would still be correct as of this time too, because they do have a dispensary located in Boston.
Okay, great, thank you. So go ahead, please, Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is HVV Massachusetts Incorporated. They're proposing to do business at 220 William McLennan Highway, located in Boston. The applicant did receive priority review as they are an MTC priority applicant. They did submit proof of an executed host community agreement as well as a community outreach meeting being conducted. The commission did receive a response from Boston on January 14th stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 4 stated goals within the executive summary. There were no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. Additionally, the applicant did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 3 stated goals. And additionally, because this is a retail application, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. I am not aware of any additional conditions being requested on this application, but are there questions, comments, or additional conditions requested before I ask for a motion? Then Mr. Stebbins, or Commissioner Stebbins, excuse me, apologize for that. Commissioner Stebbins, would you please make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to HVV Massachusetts Incorporated, MRN 283861?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, I let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to HVV Massachusetts Incorporated, MRN 283861. Thank you. Next up is Innovative Flower LLC, MRN 283469, retail. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Innovative Flower LLC. They're proposing to do business as Crop. Their proposed location is 655 Cochituate Road, located in Framingham. They are seeking a retail license. This application did receive general review. The applicant did submit their executed host community agreement or certification of an executed host community agreement, as well as all their community outreach documentation. The commission did send a municipal notice to the city of Framingham on November 12th. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their positive impact plan, they did submit 2 stated goals within the executive summary. They did have disclosures of past events. However, those past events did not raise any suitability issues. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline to become operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. The applicant did submit a diversity plan, which included the 1 stated goal within the executive summary. Additionally, as they are seeking a retail license, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products for their retail operations. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. I am not aware of any conditions being requested, additional conditions being requested on this application, but are there comments, questions, or additional conditions before I ask for a motion? And then Commissioner Camargo, could I ask you please to make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Innovative Flower LLC, MRN 283469?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let's make sure that Commissioner Camargo made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Concepcion. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Innovative Flower LLC, MRN 283469. Thank you. Next up, and Mr. Potvin, please correct my pronunciation if I get this wrong. Ketchum, Massachusetts LLC, ILN 281349, Independent Testing Laboratory. And this was an expedited application given the license type. Did I pronounce that even close to correctly, Mr. Potvin?
I believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Ketchum Mass LLC. They're proposing to do business at 16 Tech Circle, Suite 201, located in Natick. They are seeking an independent testing laboratory license. The applicant did receive expedited review as they are seeking a particular license type under the expedited review policy, that of the lab. The applicant did submit documentation regarding an executed host community agreement, as well as a community outreach meeting that was conducted. The commission did send a notice to the town of Natick on November 20th. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan with the 2 stated goals. Additionally, they did make some disclosures about past events. However, none of those disclosures raised any suitability issues. As part of their management and operations profile section, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and the required summaries of all their plans, policies, and procedures. Additionally, they did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals within the executive summary. And finally, as a condition that was just recently modified in the newly promulgated regulations, they have not been ISO certified as of yet, and that will be required and verified prior to recommendation for final licensure. Yep. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that clarification, Mr. Potvin. I have several requests for additional conditions on this application from Commissioners Flanagan, Stebbins, and Camargo. Starting with Commissioner Flanagan, her requested additional condition is clarification on how a donation to Cultivate Ed will directly impact the specified cohort. From Commissioner Camargo, cohort will the donation to Cultivate Ed benefit? And then from Commissioner Stebbins, here we go. I'm sorry. Prior to final application for licensure, identify how contribution to Cultivate Ed may assist Ketchum Mass LLC operations. So again, I think we've got some overlap there between those 3 request conditions, Commissioners Flanagan, Camargo, and Stebbins. It seems like Commissioner Flanagan and Commissioner Camargo have pretty much exactly the same. Is that correct? Is that your understanding as well? Commissioner Flanagan, are you okay with choosing one or the other?
You can put Commissioner Camargo, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. And then your Commissioner Stebbins, you're slightly different, but I think that we should probably keep that one as well as the requested condition from Commissioner Camargo. Is that all right, Commissioner Stebbins?
I agree.
Okay, great. Then are there any other comments or questions or requests for additional conditions on this application? Okay, then could I ask Commissioner Flanagan, would you make a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Ketchum, Massachusetts LLC, ILN 281349, subject to additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. I'm sorry, were you raising your hand there, Commissioner Camargo?
No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, as long as Commissioner, please.
Chairman, you broke up.
I'm sorry. I seem to have pretty good connection here, but anyway, I was asking Commissioner Camargo if you would second Commissioner Flanagan's motion.
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Kaicha, Massachusetts, ILN 281-349, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo. Next up, we have Legacy Foundation Group LLC, ILN 281-352, also an independent testing laboratory and therefore expedited based upon license status. Mr. Potvin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Legacy Foundation Group LLC. They're proposing to do business as Legacy Labs. Their proposed location is 401 Fremont Street, located in Worcester. As you stated, they are seeking an independent testing laboratory license, which did allow them to receive expedited review. The applicant did submit proof of their executed host community agreement as well as a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a response from the municipality on January 12th stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan with a stated goal within the executive summary. As part of their suitability review, there were no disclosures of past acts, and there were also no concerns arising from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. Additionally, they did submit a diversity plan with a stated goal within the executive summary. And similarly to the previous applicant, they are not ISO certified as of yet, but the applicant will be required to obtain this accreditation prior to final licensure, which will be verified by staff pursuant to the newly promulgated regulations. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I have additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins and Camargo on this application from Commissioner Stebbins. Prior to final application for licensure, identify any hiring goals for veterans, disabled residents, and LGBTQ residents. From Commissioner Camargo with respect to the positive impact plan. When does the mentoring start? Add details. And again, the suggestion that it could benefit the mentee to start early and not wait for this company to start operations. Are there other conditions or requests for, concerns or questions, as well as any additional conditions requested on this application? Okay, then could I ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Legacy Foundation Group LLC, ILN 281-352, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Camargo and Stebbins. Commissioner Stebbins, would you make such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let's record that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. Aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Legacy Foundation Group LLC, ILN 281-352, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioners Stebbins and Camargo. Next up, New England Regional Dispensary LLC, MCN 282775, which is Tier 3 indoor cultivation. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is New England Regional Dispensary LLC. Their proposed location is 34 Cross Road, located in Clarksburg. They are seeking a Tier 3 indoor cultivation license. This application did receive general review. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as documentation regarding their community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response on December 11th, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. The applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 3 stated goals in the executive summary. Part of their suitability review, there were no disclosures of any past acts. Additionally, there were no concerns arising from the background checks. The applicant did submit a proposed timeline, as well as their proposed hours of operation and all summaries of plans, policies, and procedures as part of their management and operations profile. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 1 stated goal within the executive summary. Lastly, as they are applying for a cultivation license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I have a request for an additional condition from Commissioner Stebbins, specifically prior to final application for licensure, identify any hiring goals for veterans, individuals with disabilities, and LGBTQ residents. Are there other questions, concerns, or requests for additional conditions on this license? Huh. Where is that coming from? In any case, are there any additional questions or requests for conditions before I ask for a motion on this? Great. Then could I ask Commissioner Flanagan, would you make a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation, issue a provisional license to New England Regional Dispensary LLC, MCN 282775, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Stebbins?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Camargo, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. I let the record show that the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to New England Regional Dispensary LLC, MCN 282775, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Stebbins. Thank you. Next up, we have two applications from Rain City Farming LLC. They are co-located, am I correct, Mr. Potvin?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
We'll have one review and two votes. First is Rain City Farming LLC, MCN 281316, which is Tier 1 indoor cultivation. And second from the same applicant, MPN 281748, product manufacturer. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Rain City Farming LLC. The proposed location is 35-45 Limestone Road, located in Lee. They are seeking a Tier 1 indoor cultivation license as well as a product manufacturing license. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as the fact that a community outreach meeting was held. The commission did receive a municipal response on November 23rd, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. As part of their application, they did submit a positive impact plan with the 3 stated goals within the executive summary. As part of the suitability review, background checks were performed on all the individuals and entities, and no concerns or issues arose from those reviews. As part of the management and operations profile section, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation, and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures that were found to be substantially compliant with the commission's regulations. The applicant additionally did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals. And as they are applying for a cultivation and a product manufacturing license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan, as well as a summary of the products that they plan on producing. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of 2 provisional licenses, subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. I have a request for 2 conditions from Commissioner Camargo. First is with respect to the positive impact plan, identify equity program partner and include in updates. And the second, with respect to the diversity plan goal 2, include measurements and outcomes on how this will be tracked and put in place to be achievable. Do I have are there any other questions, comments, or requests for additional conditions on these 2 and Commissioner Camargo, I'm sorry, but those conditions would apply to both of these applications, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or requests for additional conditions? Okay, then I'd like to ask please for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Rain City Farming LLC, MCN 281316, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Stebbins, could I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan, could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman. Aye. Let the record show that the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Rain City Farming LLC, MCN 281316, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Camargo. Next up, Rain City Farming LLC, MPN 281748. I'd like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Camargo. Could I have such a motion, please, Commissioner Concepcion?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second, Commissioner Camargo, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Rain City Farming LLC, MPN 281-748, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Camargo. Thank you. Next up, Corner Emporium LLC, MRN 281408. This is a prioritized application as it's an economic empowerment applicant. Is that correct, Mr. Potvin?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is the Corner Emporium LLC. They're proposing to do business as the Corner. The proposed location is 40 Jackson Street, Suite 420, located in Worcester. The applicant is seeking a retail license. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, they did receive priority review as the majority ownership is held by economic empowerment applicants. They did submit proof of an executed host community agreement as well as a community outreach meeting. The commission did send a notice to the city of Worcester on November 5th. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their application, the applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 3 stated goals. There were no disclosures of any past events. Additionally, there were no concerns that arose from the background checks on any of the individuals or entities associated with this application. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their hours of operation, and all of the required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. Additionally, the applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals within the executive summary. And as the applicant is applying for a retail license, they did submit a plan for obtaining marijuana and marijuana products. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Commissioner Stebbins has requested an additional condition on this application, specifically prior to final application for licensure, review diversity hiring goals and expected number of employees. I am not aware of any other requests for additional conditions, but are there questions or comments or additional conditions requested before I ask for a motion? Then Commissioner Concepcion, would you please make a motion to approve staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Corner Emporium MRN 281408, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Stebbins?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you second that motion?
A second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Corner Emporium LLC, MRN 281408, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Stebbins. Next up, Mr. Potvin, is the Harvest Club LLC, MCN 283130, Tier 5 Indoor Cultivation. Please go ahead, Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is the Harvest Club LLC. The proposed location is 2 and 3 Monarch Drive, located in Littleton. They are seeking a Tier 5 indoor cultivation license. The applicant did receive general review. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement, as well as the fact that a community outreach meeting was conducted. The commission did send a notice to the town of Littleton on November 20th. To date, the commission has not received a response. As part of their application, the applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 2 stated goals. Additionally, as part of the suitability review, background checks were performed and no suitability issues were discovered. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit a proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation and their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. Additionally, the applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals within the executive summary. And lastly, as they are applying for a cultivation license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I have a request for an additional condition or 2 conditions on this license from Commissioner Stebbins. First, provide any strategy for outreach to residents of disproportionate impact designated community of Lowell. Second, prior to final application for licensure, provide hiring goals for minorities and LGBTQ residents. Are there any other questions, comments, or requests for additional conditions on this application? Can I ask Commissioner Flanagan, would you please make a motion to approve staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Harvest Club LLC, MCN 2833130, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins?
So moved.
Thank you. And could I get a second, please, Commissioner Camargo?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, I let the record show the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation to issue a provisional license. Matt, I am no longer seeing these slides, and it's really hard for me to keep track of this without the slides. Can you straighten that out for us, please? Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. Much as I'd like to see the faces of my fellow commissioners, let the record show the commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Harvest Club LLC, MCN 2833130, subject to the additional conditions requested by Commissioner Stebbins. Thank you. Last, at least on this list, Mr. Potvin is In Good Health Incorporated, RMDA 3305, which is a medical marijuana treatment center. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is In Good Health Incorporated. The proposed location for their cultivation and product manufacturing operations is 1200 West Chestnut Street, located in Brockton. The proposed location for their dispensary is 449 Route 130, located in Sandwich. As a note, their cultivation and product manufacturing operation that is associated with this application is already operational under another medical marijuana treatment center license. But as required, medical marijuana treatment centers must be vertically integrated. The applicant did submit proof of an executed host community agreement. The applicant also did conduct a community outreach meeting. The commission did receive a municipal response from the town of Sandwich on January 5th, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances and bylaws. Additionally, the applicant did submit a positive impact plan with the 3 stated goals within the executive summary. As part of their suitability review, there were disclosures that were made. However, none of the disclosures raised any suitability issues. As part of their management and operations profile, they did submit their proposed timeline for becoming operational, as well as their proposed hours of operation, and all of their required summaries of plans, policies, and procedures. The applicant did submit a diversity plan with the 2 stated goals within the executive summary. And as this is a vertically integrated license, they did submit a summary of their cultivation plan, a list of products that they plan on producing, and therefore commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license subject to the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. I have a request for an additional condition from Commissioner Concepcion. Prior to final licensure, the applicant shall amend its security plan to state that the appropriate law enforcement authorities and the commission shall be notified of any breach of security or other reportable incident defined in 500.110 section 9 immediately, and in no instance more than 24 hours following the discovery of the breach or incident.
Now, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Concepcion.
I would like to amend that citation
Sure.
from 500 to 501.110 section 9.
Good catch. So let me just, for the record, read it one more time. Any other changes before I read it again, Commissioner Concepcion?
No, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. So the proposed condition from Commissioner Concepcion will now read: prior to final licensure, the applicant shall amend its security plan to state that the appropriate law enforcement authorities and the commission shall be notified of any breach of security or other reportable incident defined in 501.110 section 9 immediately, and in no instance more than 24 hours following discovery of the breach or incident. Thank you. Before I ask for a motion, are there questions, concerns, or other proposed conditions on this application? Great. Then could I ask Commissioner Concepcion, would you please make a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to In Good Health Incorporated RMDA 3305, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Concepcion?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins, would you second that motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Concepcion made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Stebbins. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approved staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to In Good Health Incorporated RMDA 3305, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Concepcion. Mr. Poffman, do we have any more provisional licenses or any other license types at this point in time?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, thank you. Before we move on, I know Commissioner Camargo would like to make a comment, but before I turn the floor to her, I just wanted to once again thank you, the entire licensing and enforcement staff for I know the amazing amount of work that go into preparing for these meetings and for doing the review of the application. So thank you and thank your staff for that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Camargo, would you like to make a comment at this time?
Yeah, thank you. It's just a quick update. I know that former Commissioner Title and Commissioner Flanagan had been working on revising the guidance on diversity plans. So I just want to let folks know that we are still working on that. We will be hopefully having it up at the April meeting for discussion, and myself and Commissioner Stebbins have now taken it on, and we have pulled together a team of experts internally that includes Kyle and Rebecca and Suko and Tisa and Andrew, who will be helping us in making sure that we can get some new guidelines, well, not new, but some guidelines in the documentation to help applicants really work through their diversity plans, because after now reading some of them twice, now this being our second meeting, we could see where we can be a little helpful with some more guidance. So more to come on that.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Camargo. Thank you and Commissioner Stebbins for your work on this, and Commissioner Flanagan, who I know has been involved from day one on this. Thank you all. I think we are done with licensing. So Matt, if we could have the agenda up again, please. I think we have one more topic for discussion today. We have a slide here. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, Matt. So the topic here is executive director goals. Just to get everybody on the same page here, this has been a topic that we've discussed at the last couple of meetings. We did have a set of goals in place for the executive director last year, and this is an update to that process. I think it's important to reiterate 2 points that have come up constantly when we've talked about this. One is this is not the only set of things the executive director needs to focus on. Obviously, the operation of the agency on a day-to-day basis is clearly the critical part of his job. But I think this is important, not because it's the only thing that the executive director is responsible for, but his intent, should we approve these goals, is to cascade them down to his direct reports and then to each of their departments to ensure that the individual goals that everybody in the agency is working on are consistent with the overall goals of the, excuse me for a second, I'm just going to close the window. Thank you. So I just wanted to give that context. We did go through this at our last meeting, and at that last meeting, I think we had a debate or a discussion about one of the goals specifically with respect to the social equity program. Commissioner Stebbins proposed some language to address some of the concerns that were raised. And additionally, we agreed to put off the final discussion and vote on goals to this month to give Commissioner Concepcion a chance to kind of get up to speed and participate in this important dialogue. So that's why it's on the agenda today. My goal is to have a quick but complete discussion and to ask for a motion to approve and a vote to approve. Matt, if you go to the next slide, please.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions.
Can I just finish my introductory remarks, if that's okay, Commissioner Flanagan, and I'll turn it over to you. Is that all right, or would you
Sure.
prefer? What we've got here are 4 goals that we've discussed previously that I am not aware that there are issues or concerns with. And that, again, I probably should have said in my introductory comment, these goals were developed by Sean and I collaboratively. I won't put words in Sean's mouth, but you know, as was the case last year, he's, you know, people are more than happy or more than able, if they'd like to, ask Sean's perspective on this, but these were collaborative goals, not imposed on Sean, but done with collaborative discussion between he and myself. So no change to these first 4. Next, if we go to the next slide, please, Matt. The only change that's proposed is the 8th goal here, and I believe this represents the language that was proposed by Commissioner Stebbins and Executive Director Collins during our last meeting, which is essentially to do 2 things. One is to make it clear that this was collaborative, not just something that Sean was on his own to do, and 2 is to recognize how much is on everybody's plate and the time required to do something like this. So it was to begin to develop this plan. If you go to the next slide, Matt, there are no changes to these other goals. So my hope is that we can have a discussion, particularly with respect to 8, and get to closure on this. But before I start that discussion, Commissioner Flanagan, please go ahead.
I was just looking to see if Sean's assessment had been done, and if it had, if we're going to see a summary of that report.
The answer to your first question is yes, it's been done. Sean and I did that, I think 2 weeks ago, if I remember correctly. Had that conversation. B, as we did last year, the intent was not to share it because it would become a public document under the open meeting law if we shared it with other commissioners. It has been filed with the in process of being filed with the Human Resources Department, so it's on record. But if I recall correctly, Commissioner Flanagan, and maybe you have a different recollection, we did not share it last year because, again, it would become part of the public record, and I just personally would prefer not to conduct Sean's performance review in public. But okay. I think that's the way we did it last year. Is that your recollection as well?
Well, I also recollect we had a executive session and we talked about salary and things of that nature. So I'm wondering if all this ties in, if he's getting a COLA raise or if he's getting anything's being considered.
My proposal on that, the answer is I think he should be considered for a compensation adjustment. He and I did discuss this. My proposal to my fellow commissioners is that we do it tied to the end of this fiscal year, and so have the conversation in executive session at a meeting sometime April or May, so that we can come to a decision and make it effective with the beginning of a new fiscal year on July 1st.
Okay.
That means before I ask for other comments, Mr. Executive Director, do you have anything you want to add to the overview I gave?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My proposal is I'd like to ask for a motion to approve these goals for the Executive Director, subject to what you see highlighted. If you can go back to the previous slide, Matt, please. Subject to the proposed change in language that you see highlighted on for goal 8. But before I ask for a motion, are there comments or questions on this particular goal, number 8, or any other goals that are on this? Okay. Great, thank you. So this time I'm not going to call on anybody, but could I ask please for a motion to approve these goals for the Executive Director?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Stebbins. Can I have a second, please? Commissioner Camargo, thank you. So let the record show that Commissioner Stebbins made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman, I let the record show that the commission unanimously approved these goals for the Executive Director. At this point, Mr. Executive Director, do you have any comment?
Well, thank you, first and foremost. I think with your permission, I'd like to talk a bit about implementation here and what that looks like.
Sure, please go ahead.
So obviously these are goals that are for me as the executive director, but you understand, as I want to ensure the public understands, these are really agency-wide goals that our staff is now, through me and alongside me as well as yourselves, going to work to implement as quickly, as thoroughly, and as efficiently as possible. But they do represent agency-wide elements. So for me to be successful in achieving these, I'm going to need the help of our staff. I'm confident we'll get it. But these now become, I will cascade these goals to our staff through our performance management process, which was also one of my previous goals. Where our success has been realized, it's really because of that team effort. I intend to continue striving toward that. These are aggressive as well. And so I think I want to be reasonable in our expectations. I will work as I have in the past, as much as I can, as hard as I can to attain them. I realize that they're important to not just us, but external folks as well. And I think the reputation of our agency really depends on our success here. So we take that seriously. We will work as hard as possible to implement these. And I appreciate your help and patience in that process. But Mr. Chairman, as you also indicated, this is a sample of what we do on a day-to-day basis as well. So I appreciate this direction, and we'll continue as we do every day to try to hit these high marks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Executive Director, and I appreciate everything you just said. And just let me add to that you have my complete personal commitment to collaborate with you and whomever else on the staff to help attain any and all of these goals. And I'm sure I can speak for my fellow commissioners on that behalf as well. Okay, before I go through upcoming meeting dates and ask for a vote to adjourn, are there any other topics or any comments that my fellow commissioners would wish to make at this point in time? I don't think we can add new topics, but if there are closing comments from any of my fellow commissioners, then Matt, could you put up the meeting date slide? So our next meeting is March 11th. It will be another Microsoft Teams meeting, remote, starting at 10 a.m. and we'll go through the normal process of posting an agenda at least 48 business hours ahead of that meeting. If you go to the next slide, Matt, again, I really want to just make sure people understand this is a tentative schedule, just so people put on their calendars. But as we get close to the dates, there's a chance that one or more of them might change. But right now, this is a schedule, a proposed schedule for our public meetings for the remainder of the year, starting with the meeting, as I just mentioned, on March 11th. There being no further business before the commission, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Could I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Is that Commissioner Camargo?
Yes.
Thank you. Let's make sure that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to adjourn, seconded by Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Camargo, your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Concepcion? You need to unmute Commissioner Concepcion. I'll come back to you. Commissioner Flanagan?
Hi. Yay.
Yeah. Commissioner Stebbins?
Aye.
Commissioner Concepcion? I think we might have lost her, but we have a vote of 4 in favor to adjourn. Commissioners Camargo, Flanagan, Stebbins, and Hoffman, with Commissioner Concepcion not voting. So we are adjourned as of 12:38 p.m. Thank you very much, and everybody, please be safe.
Thank you.